friend Bub, but I'm dying to find out what's inside.
What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector. I'm your host, BTC, bringing you a top tier story from a bottom tier reader. Today we've got Wolverine number 6. Let's get right into it, shall we? So we're introduced to this scene. It's a rainy night. I assume we're in Madripoor, and we're at what appears to be a hidden base in a shady location guarded by military troops in the Vietnam Army. And this lady in the red dress, always beware the lady in the red dress, right? That's such a classic metaphor. She knocks on the door of these military generals and asks for one of them to help her car. Her car's been broken down. And she leads the officer away because the officer thinks he's going to have a little fun, right? Leads the officer away to help this lady repair her car. And shout out to John Buscema and his art here. I can't tell the exact model of the car, but it seems to be based on the time frame this issue was written in 88 or 89. It's either a late 80s Camaro or a late 80s Corvette. Not exactly sure. I'm leaning more towards Camaro, but just shout out to John Buscema, great art. I really like that he was able to draw a car I actually recognized. One of my favorite cars of all time. And before the general can figure out what is wrong with the situation and things aren't adding up, we discover it's Miss Coy, and Miss Coy has power. She mind controls the officer, and that gets her into the palace. We discover this grand room with these riches and this statue. There's murmuring between the soldiers. They're jealous of the officer. And for a split second, Miss Coy breaks her mental link with the officer, and he's, he is surprised and shocked that he's inside of the palace with Miss Coy. He's wanting Miss Coy to explain herself and explain how they got there. And that's when, from behind a curtain, Wolverine grabs the officer and subdues him. And Miss Coy steps behind the curtain as well. And Miss Coy and Wolverine and Archie are now together. They're going to work together to take down Miss Coy's uncle, General Coy. Just for the sake of me pronouncing names and me remembering names, they will be referred to as Miss Coy and Mr. Coy, as irritating or annoying as that may sound. Me saying those names over and over and over. So this whole issue, the rest of the issue is kind of the boss fight for this arc. Archie and Wolverine and Miss Coy arrive on the scene to help. Well, actually, we get set up with Lindsay McCabe and Jessica Drew and how they're being treated as sexual prisoners. It's just indicated that way. It's not rated R or explicit, but it's just indicated Lindsay McCabe dressed in garb that reminds me of Slave Leia from Return of the Jedi. Roundhouse making sexual advances at her. So real sleazy people. This is definitely the villains of the book. That's kind of the scene being set up. And then Wolverine and Miss Coy jump on the scene. Archie as well. Wolverine challenges Roundhouse, and we get this magnificent fight throughout the issue. Lots of action here. Roundhouse and Wolverine take their fight outside. Wolverine drawing his claws only as necessary, because remember, I don't know what's going on outside of this title. I've not read Uncanny X-Men, but at this point in time in history, the X-Men are presumed dead. So Wolverine's still got to go under the guise of Patch. He's only using his claws as necessary, so that Jessica Drew, who definitely knows who Wolverine is, doesn't blow his cover, so that the X-Men are still presumed dead. For whatever reason, what caused their fake death, whatever they feel they need to pose as the dead for who knows. But that's just what's going on in Wolverine. He's having to fist fight Roundhouse and use his claws as necessary. Bloodsport. Meanwhile, inside we have the fight between Bloodsport and Jessica Drew. And she has a much easier job of subduing Bloodsport. It wasn't made clear to me, I will add at this point in the issue, it wasn't made clear to me if Bloodsport had tasted Nancy Drew's blood. Now it was, and I'll backtrack a little bit, it was stated in the issue that Bloodsport had tasted Miss Coy's blood. That kind of refers back to issue 5 when she cut her hand on the glass she broke in the beginning of issue 5, and Bloodsport wiped his finger in the blood and licked it, having tasted Miss Coy's blood. So that's been explained, but it has not been explained whether or not Bloodsport has tasted Jessica Drew. I would assume he hasn't, because he doesn't appear to have the kind of control over Jessica Drew that he has over Miss Coy. But there is a scene where Jessica Drew is bleeding. Lindsay McCabe comes to her aid and whatnot. But after Bloodsport is kind of subdued, Jessica Drew runs to Wolverine's aid to help him fight Roundhouse, who's just this behemoth of a man. And this whole fight was so intense. Jessica Drew gets thrown into this, it looks like a wishing well, but there seems to be an entire kraken at the bottom of this wishing well on this property. That's pretty random. And Wolverine kicks Roundhouse into the water. Wolverine goes in there as well, pops his claws, and in its murky waters. He's kind of narrating in his head that he needs to be careful of Jessica Drew seeing his claws. So carefully he cuts up the kraken, or whatever it is, the giant octopus, and they return to the surface. Wolverine pulling Jessica Drew out of the water before she dies. I'm not very familiar with Spider-Woman's powers, but I assume she can be drowned and die that way. So they're brushing themselves off. They're getting ready to go back inside, and what do you know? Roundhouse is back for more, and the fight ensues again. Meanwhile, inside, near the end of the book, people bust in. A third party busts in. The general is shocked and surprised at who's made his way to the door. The last page, we get this splash page of somebody, a third party character named the Prince. And then also at the end, an editor's note that Joe Fixit will be in the next issue. So that was really it, as a really brief walkthrough of the issue. I don't really feel like it was necessary to just go over every single panel. I'm noticing the formula here. Every 3 issues is a lot of action and kind of ties up some of the knots. Now, we didn't get the end of the Bloodsport Roundhouse, General Coy, Tiger, gang rival conflict plot going on. Not really sure where it's headed at this point, now that we have a third party entering the squabble, if you will. So I've got a lot more questions, and it's definitely geared me up for issue 7. That editor's note at the end, Joe Fixit, and a little bit of Marvel history here. A lot of you Marvel heads actually know a lot more than me on this subject, but briefly, for a time, Bruce Banner and the Hulk are disconnected. They're no longer one and the same anymore. I don't know what happens to Bruce Banner during the Joe Fixit era, but somebody named Joe Fixit becomes the Grey Hulk. And that is who the editor's note is referring to as Mr. Fixit, going to be in the next issue. Going to be very interesting to see Joe Fixit and Wolverine team up against Roundhouse. I'm very interested to see how the Hulk and Roundhouse square off against each other. I'm interested to learn so much more about Roundhouse and his origin. Hopefully we get that fleshed out. How is this person so strong? Bloodsport's a little weaker. He's more of the brains of the outfit. He prefers subtlety and mind control because he's just a skinny, frail vampire, as opposed to Roundhouse, who's just a brute. He's not very smart, but he's hell on wheels to deal with. Wolverine even has a tough time dealing with this character Roundhouse. He's going to need to call in the reinforcements. Mr. Joe Fixit. Going to be very interesting to see where this leads in issue 7. Well, that'll do me for the issue, guys. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting. You casual viewers, feel free to head out. But I'm going to do some house cleaning now. My life's been turned upside down. You guys are aware I've been moved to 3rd shift. Fortunately for me, this is my final week on 3rd shift. So my sleep schedule, my work schedule is going to be going back to normal, although I've been able to see my family a lot more on 3rd shift, sleeping while my wife or my son is at work or summer school. I've been choosing to spend time with them in the evenings. So I've lost a lot of my free time to record. I only feel like I'm able to record this video now because my wife has company over at the moment. So I've snuck upstairs to get out of their hair and let them hang out and have friend time. My car is officially shot, but that doesn't necessarily affect the YouTube channel. It just makes it harder for me to get back and forth to work. So I'm just kind of going through some things. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with my car. I'm going back to 2nd shift soon. And then also I have applied and I have interviewed for a welding instructor position at the same high school my wife teaches at. So that would be an incredible blessing for me to become the welding instructor at, I don't want to say the name, but at the high school my wife works at here in Decatur, Alabama. We'd have the same schedule. It would just go a long way towards raising our kids and having a healthier marriage, a healthier relationship. We probably have, because we don't spend a lot of time now, I feel like the only time I can record is when she's busy with friends or responsibilities, or she's at work. Time apart is when I feel like I can record. But maybe if we sync up and get the same work schedule, maybe we can figure out some kind of way to get me on track to a normal YouTube schedule, because I really miss you guys. I just saw that it's been 11 days since I last recorded a video, and I'm not going to apologize for anything, but I definitely hope to get back on track with that. We'll see. I just got a lot of stuff. Oh, and then Georgia June ball. My baby girl, she could be due today. She could be due, we're thinking July 4th week. And the due date is like July 20th. So somewhere between today and July 20th, for absolute sure, I'm going to be a father of a baby girl. And you guys that are parents, you already know how that's going to be. I'm probably going to be away for a while. I'm just going to feel guilty up here recording, just the kind of person I am. I would feel guilty up here recording knowing my baby girl would be downstairs or elsewhere in the house needing care or being cared for by my wife. So we'll just have to play these next 3 to 6 months by ear. I will try to record when I can, but I'm making this promise to you guys out there. I expect 2024 to be a much more normal year for me. Hopefully I can get on some kind of a regular recording and uploading schedule in 2024. I know I've got like 4 or 5 projects out here. I have not forgotten it. We're doing the first 20 issues of Wolverine. I'm still keeping to that. I'm holding to my request from you, Tim the Comic Collector. I'm going to try and find time to get Jingle Hell Spring Break Massacre and the Logos Paramilitary Christmas Special, that 3-part special series done. And then we got the WrestleMania series. I've done the first 8 WrestleManias. I've got to do 2 more WrestleManias, and then I'd like to do a final episode on that series, kind of closing it out. Thoughts, opinions, and ranking the 10 WrestleManias. So I haven't forgot about that either. So 3 projects. I am working on. I haven't forgot about them. And then here recently, I seem to be slowly making my way through the X-Men movies, the Fox X-Men movies. I just finished Days of Future Past today. So I finished the first 5. I've got Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix left to go. And then I like to do movie rankings. So once I finish with the Fox X-Men franchise, I'm probably not going to include the Wolverine movies or the Deadpool movies or New Mutants in these rankings. But I would like to, sometime in the future, whenever I get Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix watched, I'd like to do a ranking video for that as well. I also mentioned on Instagram that I'm terribly sad and heartbroken that Space Ghost Coast to Coast is taken off of Max. That's I don't want to say my favorite cartoon of all time, but it's top 5 cartoon of all time. It's just something I can flip on real easy and have some laughs, and it lifts my mood up. I love Space Ghost, Silver Age Space Ghost, 90s Space Ghost, current Space Ghost in the comics. I don't care. I just love me some Space Ghost. I try to fit Space Ghost references in my videos when I can. I don't know if you guys pick up on that or not. But that, I mentioned I want to do a tribute video to Space Ghost, so gonna do that sometime in the future as well. But that's what I got on the slate, guys. It's a lot. My life is just crazy right now. The videos are coming when I feel like I have time and motivation. When time and motivation meet, that's when I make a YouTube video. Right now, when I get back on a normal schedule, I'm sure I'll start steamrolling with it, and they'll just start coming out again like they used to come out. That'll do me, guys. Thank you, everyone in the community, for liking, subscribing, commenting. I'm not going anywhere as far as being in your live chats and your comment sections. It's never that hard to just open up my phone and turn on somebody's video and start supporting the community. I would encourage you all to do the same. It's not that hard to support people in the community. You don't have to support me by commenting or subscribing or any of that stuff. Just simply watch the video. It means everything to me. And bottom tier out.